Hi guys, Chef Kevin Belton here, and I want to wish you a happy National Buttermilk Biscuit Day. That's right, we're going to do buttermilk biscuits. And you know, when I had my restaurant, one of the things I loved early in the morning was going in, and I was the one to make the biscuits. I don't know why, but I watched my great-grandmother do it, and I loved it. The only thing about this that drives me crazy, my mother, when she taught me to cook, she taught me to clean as I go, and we're dealing with flour and all, and it gets messy, and for somebody with OCD, it drives me crazy, but we're gonna get through this. Now, you always hear about baking, especially with biscuits, things being very, very cold. I read about this. I measured out my flour. This is 2.5 cups of flour, and what I did, I put it in a Ziploc, and I had it in the freezer for about 30 minutes, so it's nice and cold. So you could do this in a bowl, but I'm gonna put this right into a food processor. Okay? Along with that, I have 2 tablespoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay? The baking powder, remember, helps rise. The salt gives us a little flavor. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put the lid on. We're just gonna turn it on. We just want to pulse it, just so that it gets mixed together really well. Now, butter. You hear about cutting in butter. Now, Mom and Grandma would take a couple of forks and in the bowl, just kind of cut it this way into the bowl. They have cutters now that'll be a handle with the wires on it, and you could cut it in. But the reason I like the food processor is I've cubed my butter and it's been cold. I just took it out of the refrigerator. In it goes. And here, by doing it in the food processor, it'll get it to that little pebble size we need. And we need to pulse it about 5 times. We don't want to blend it. We just want to give it a nice little pulse. But this makes it so much easier to do it this way, as opposed to having to do it with the fork. It just takes a little longer. Same process, but it just takes a little longer. So let's go ahead. All right, flour, come on. I see you coming out of there. See, this is what I'm talking about. All right, let's get this in our bowl. Now, one of the reasons we want that butter pulsed like that, and that butter in between the layers, is because that's going to help get layers of flavor, and that's what helps it rise. So I'm gonna make a little well. Here, let me use a spoon. I'm gonna make a little well. I have a tablespoon of buttermilk, and I put in a little bit extra because I wanna brush the top of the biscuits before you put them in.
A tablespoon?
I mean a cup. I'm sorry, Monica reminded me. I have a cup of buttermilk with a couple of extra tablespoons inside because we're gonna save just a couple of tablespoons to brush the top of our biscuits with. Also, you notice I made that little well to pour it right in the middle. Also, we're gonna do about 2 teaspoons of honey. Now you can measure this off, but you know what? I like a little sweetness, and it just totally depends on the flavor that you like. Now, we want to, I don't know if you guys can see these little chunks? That's our little chunks of butter right there, all right? One of the worst things everybody does when they make things like biscuits and things like this is overwork the dough. I want this to come together, but I don't want to beat it up. You want to treat it gently, and you see how it's fairly dry, but it's starting to come together. Okay, see how we kind of press it and it kind of comes together like that? That's what we're looking for. Let me just turn it one more time. All right, this is the part where you get a little messy. We're going to put some flour on the counter, and I'm going to turn this out onto the counter, and this is where your hands get a little messy too, but that's okay. That's all right. Sorry that I moved so you can't see this coming out. Come on, baby. There you go. And all we're going to do is take our hands and press this together. We're going to press this into a rectangle shape, okay? Just kind of take your hands. You know, it's, I don't know, I learned from mother and grandmother that sometimes it doesn't have to look pretty when you're making it because it tastes so good once it's done. So this is a rough rectangle shape, all right? But here's what we want to do with this. We want to take one side, fold it in. We're going to take this other side, fold it in, and now we're going to press it again. And you see, I can get these little pieces that fell off and push those in, and we're just going to press this down. Basically what we're doing, you know when you see biscuits, how they get flaky? That's what we're doing here. Matter of fact, in France, I got to watch them make croissants. You should have seen how many times they folded in this sheet. They had a thing of butter about a 1/4 inch thick, and it was like this wide, and it went right on top of the dough, and they kept folding it and folding it and folding it. So I'm going to do this roughly 3 times. All right. See, we got that little rectangle, and if you look real close, you can see these little spots of butter in here, okay? Make sure your hands are fairly cool. If your hands get a little warm, you know, go ahead and maybe cool them off in a little water. But we're going to do this one more time. And I know you're asking me, why are you doing all of this? Well, you're going to see why, okay? Now, all right. Now that we've got that set, let me just wash off my hands, gang. All right. I tell you what, this looks so good already. I can't wait. I know these are going to come out really, really good. Really fantastic. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm going to take just a roller. Now, I want to roll these out about 3/4 of an inch thick, okay? They don't have to be too thick, too thin. Don't put them too thin because you want them to kind of fluff up on you for you, all right? But if you get a close-up, Monica, if you get a close-up of that, see how that butter, those little chunks of butter in there, those little chunks of butter are going to be what gives it flavor. It's also going to be what gives it lifts. Now, you could take a cookie cutter, a biscuit cutter, cookie cutter, and cut this out. Of course, when you need something, you can't find it. I couldn't find my biscuit cutter, so I'm using a little can, all right? And basically, get on the edge, just press down, all right? And it doesn't matter the size you want to make them, but you notice, to try to save all of my dough, I'm going right to the edge where the other one came out. Now, you don't want to try to twist these because sometimes when you twist, it seals them off and it won't allow them to rise. So I just like to press straight down, pop them up, and I'm just putting them into a cast iron skillet. Now, if we don't want to use a cast iron skillet, of course, you could do this on a baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper. And you see how that stuck a little bit? I should have had a little more flour on the counter under there. That's why that stuck. And you see how thick they are? About 3/4 of an inch. And this is something else I learned, and I'm not sure why this happens, because I'm not a true baker, and I need to ask a friend why. But I find that biscuits, for some reason, they seem to rise better and cook better when they touch each other. You know, opposite like when we do cookies, we don't want cookies to touch at all. We want cookies to be able to spread out and not touch. But with biscuits, we don't mind if they touch a little bit. So here, we're going to squeeze that last one in. Come on, get in there. I'm wondering, gang, you think we can squeeze one right here? And look, we have room for one more right here. Look, it has a little funny shape to it. That's okay. That way it can fit right on in there. Now, this right here, this leftover dough here that we have, we can fold this back up, roll it out, and cut more, all right? When you use these, you try to get as many out as you can like that. Because when you use these to put this back together, that means we have to work the dough a little bit harder. And if we work when we work the dough, remember, we don't want to overwork the dough. So that's why, be careful when you try to get extra, fold that in. Now, give me just a second. Here comes that. This is what I was telling you about when Mama said, clean as you go. All right? Look. Oh, yeah. See, I'll deal with that. I'll put that up later. I'm sorry, gang. I just had to do that. All right? All right. Now, of course, you know I have some in the oven. But let me show you right quick, too, what I want to do. Remember that little buttermilk we saved? We want to take our buttermilk and brush it right on the top. Just right on the top. This will actually give a nice little flavor when you go to bite on that biscuit. This little bit of milk also, you're going to notice it keeps it nice and golden brown. When they're ready, they'll get a nice golden brown color. Oh, yeah. I preheated the oven, 425 degrees. These are going to go in the oven roughly, 15, 20 minutes. You know, every oven is a little different, so make sure you check your oven. But look at the ones, oh yeah. Look at the ones I already had in there. Oh, come on, guys, hop on in. You get in. Oh, look at these. Now I can take a little melted butter and honey and just brush more melted butter and honey right on the top. You know, if you're not a honey fan, don't use honey. You know, I love Steen's cane syrup. It's one of those things that I grew up with. You can do this with a little butter and Steen's cane syrup on the top. Oh, don't they look great? All right. Oh, yeah, that looks so good. Now, of course, when you're ready to serve these, okay, here I have a little bacon I cooked. Here are some nice, I have a little cherry preserve. You can use whatever preserve that you like, whether it's fig. You can do actually the lemon curd if you want. But a piece of sausage right on the inside. Make your own sausage biscuits. Make your own chicken biscuits. But I think this looks pretty darn good for National Buttermilk Biscuit Day. And look, gang, it's warm, but see, they come right out of the pan. They don't stick. With the cast iron pan, you don't have to put anything down in the cast iron pan. But remember, if you do a sheet pan, go ahead and make sure you line it with parchment paper, okay? So I hope this recipe helps. I think that hopefully we can bring this back, teach our kids how to go ahead and make biscuits from scratch, because there is nothing like a homemade biscuit. Oh, I tell you what, as soon as you guys leave, woo! Monica's gonna have to stop me from getting these, or she probably won't let me eat these, but I'll eat the ones in the oven. Don't tell her. All right? For WWR, I'm Chef Kevin Belton. Thank you for watching. Be safe. We'll see you soon.